Have you ever wondered about the strangest photos that time has forgotten? Today, we will reveal to you the strangest and most fascinating vintage photos that you will love. I promise you. Enjoy the show. Remember our late-night queen of horror from the 80s? Well, here's something you might not know about Elvira. She whipped up that iconic look from a discount rack at Frederick's of Hollywood. But here's the kicker. She originally wanted to be a serious actress in drama shows. Instead, she became the most famous horror host in TV history. And you know what? That spooky weekend gig turned into a 35-year career. Talk about embracing the darkness, wouldn't you say? You might remember Bob Ross for his calming voice and happy little trees, but here's something that'll make you smile. This gentle soul was also a certified squirrel whisperer. Back in the 80s and 90s, between painting sessions, Bob rehabilitated orphaned squirrels right in his own backyard. And get this, he'd often keep them in his shirt pocket while filming The Joy of Painting. Talk about a rock and roll moment. Back in '89, these two legends crossed paths at a New York charity event. Here's what's wild. Despite their different styles, Bowie in his sharp suit and Jet in her signature punk rock gear, they shared more than just a photo op. Both were known for completely reinventing themselves and breaking all the rules of rock. Remember when Hollywood stars were always picture perfect? Well, here's Marilyn in 1960, taking a casual swim in a friend's pool. No makeup, no fancy hairdo, just pure natural beauty. But here's the kicker. This candid shot was actually taken by her friend George Barris during one of her last photo shoots. Even without the glamour, that $1 million smile still lights up the whole picture. Would you believe this is Marilyn Monroe? Caught on camera in '55, here's America's favorite bombshell going incognito in New York. And get this, she was actually taking acting classes at the time, studying at Lee Strasberg's famous Actors Studio. Remember Sigourney Weaver fighting aliens in Aliens? Well, here she is in '84, taking a break between scenes with nothing but a Coke and a straw hat. But here's the kicker. This was right before she became the first person ever nominated for an Academy Award for acting in a sci-fi film. Just look at her, all casual grace in a summer dress, worlds away from those space marines and xenomorphs. Here's a fun piece of Hollywood history from 1982. Before becoming a Bond girl and starring in Charlie's Angels, Tanya Roberts appeared in The Beastmaster, a fantasy adventure that became a cable TV classic. Fun fact, this film actually helped launch the whole sword and sorcery movie trend of the 1980s. Ever wonder how they tested lipstick back in the 50s? Here's your answer. They had professional lipstick testers. And get this, these guys would get kissed up to 300 times a day to test durability and color transfer. But here's the kicker. Their white lab coats became living color charts by the end of each day. Yep, that's what quality control looked like before computers. Remember when Ann-Margret lit up Hollywood in the 60s? Here she is in '66, fresh off starring with Elvis in Viva Las Vegas. But here's something you might not know. This Swedish-born firecracker started out as a singer in George Burns' nightclub act. Would you believe this elegant young lady reading a book was Kaiser Wilhelm II's only daughter? This 1910 photo shows Princess Victoria Louise at age 18, and here's the kicker. Despite all the royal protocol, she was quite the rebel. She secretly learned to drive cars, became the first royal woman to wear a military uniform, and later wrote 3 best-selling books about life in the German court. Remember Buck Rogers in the 25th century? Here's the stunning Erin Gray as Colonel Wilma Deering in '79. But here's something you might not know. She was one of the highest-paid models in America before taking this role. And get this, she insisted her character be a strong military leader, not just eye candy. You're looking at one incredible power couple from 1937. Danish explorer Peter Freuchen stood 6 feet 7 inches tall and once escaped an ice cave by making a chisel from his own frozen feces. His wife, Magdalene van Lauritsen, was a successful fashion illustrator who went on Arctic expeditions with him. Those legendary violet eyes could stop traffic. This stunning shot captures Liz Taylor in her prime during the '60s. The fascinating part? Those famous eyes actually had a rare genetic mutation. Double rows of eyelashes. Hollywood makeup artists said they'd never seen anything like it. She turned heads, not just for her beauty, but for having a mind of her own in old Hollywood. This candid shot from Cannes '68 captures a rising star at the height of her career. Sharon Tate was making waves in European cinema, turning heads with both her talent and grace. The fascinating part? She did her own styling for the festival, mixing high fashion with casual comfort. That bold red sweater became quite the trend that summer. What a blast from Star Wars past. Here's a lighthearted moment during the filming of Return of the Jedi. Princess Leia's stunt double and Ford's double are sporting those iconic Jabba's palace costumes, while Harrison's stand-in rocks that classic cowboy look. The fascinating part? Vic Armstrong doubled for Harrison in 3 franchises: Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and Superman. Just another day of fun in the sun between those intense action scenes. Talk about making a splash in Hollywood. Vicky Dugan earned her nickname The Back for daring to wear backless dresses when most stars played it safe. This pool shot from the '60s captures her playful side, but here's the twist. She started as a respected fashion model in New York, winning the Model of the Year title in '48. Hollywood later dubbed her The Back because she could stop traffic just by walking down Sunset Boulevard. Get this! When Stephen Hawking married Jane in '65, doctors gave him just 2 years to live. But here's the kicker. This genius, who was supposed to check out before the summer of love, went on to become the rock star of physics. While other scientists stayed in their labs, our guy was crushing it on The Simpsons and writing bestsellers. Remember when America's sweetheart met Britain's princess? Check this out. Just months before Meg Ryan would fake it in that famous deli scene, she was curtsying to Diana at a premiere. But here's the fun part. Diana was actually a huge rom-com fan and had already watched When Harry Met Sally 3 times. Just imagine the people's princess giggling at that deli scene. You think Blondie just walked into fame? Check this out. When Debbie Harry recorded Heart of Glass in '78, the punk crowd called it a total sellout. But here's the kicker. That disco-punk fusion became their first #1 hit. While the purists were crying foul, Debbie was busy proving that breaking rules makes history. Think Audrey was just born graceful? Get this. Before becoming Hollywood's princess, she spent the war years teaching ballet to earn bread in hidden basements. But here's the wild part. That pink dress you're looking at? It later sold for nearly $500,000. Get this. When Churchill left Parliament in '64, he'd spent longer in office than the Beatles had been alive. But here's the kicker. This cigar-chomping bulldog started as a terrible student who failed 6th grade twice. Guess what? He went on to win the Nobel Prize in literature. Yes, the same guy who mastered the art of the sick burn in Parliament was actually a best-selling author. Talk about a career comeback that would make Rocky Balboa jealous. Get this. When Satchmo met a French punk in '61, he didn't just sign an autograph. He turned the kid's head into a jazz masterpiece. Get this. Before Monica Bellucci became Bond's most mature romance at 51, she was paying for law school by modeling. But here's the kicker. She hated being in front of the camera. This reluctant model turned into Italy's biggest film export since spaghetti westerns. Check this out. This sketch wasn't done by some professional artist, but by Hollywood bombshell Jane Russell herself. But here's the kicker. She nailed those iconic Monroe features in just a few pencil strokes between takes. Get this. This throwback photo captures pure 1980s style. Those power shoulders and that bold makeup, pure new wave fashion when Madonna and Cyndi Lauper were ruling MTV. Get this, before she was sipping Cosmos as Samantha, Kim Cattrall was rocking that 80s glam in wine commercials. But here's the kicker. She turned down the role of Sex and the City 3 times before saying yes. Get this, Hollywood actually tried to clone their own Marilyn. But here's the kicker. While 20th Century Fox was marketing Jane Mansfield as the next Monroe, these two blondes were actually buddies behind the scenes. They even shared the same wig maker. Your eyes aren't playing tricks. This French starlet could have been Grace Kelly's twin. Mylene Demongeot was supposed to be France's answer to Brigitte Bardot. But here's the wild part. She turned down Hollywood to stay in Europe, saying, "I'd rather be a big fish in a small pond." Picture this. The Queen of Pop started out selling cars in a cowgirl outfit. While ABBA was topping charts in '74, Cher was secretly dreaming of going solo from Sunny. Before Instagram likes, British teens had their own way of going viral. This 17-year-old scooterist spent every penny of his pocket money turning his Vespa into a rolling disco ball. 81 lights and 34 mirrors. Talk about overkill. But here's the kicker. While his parents probably thought he was nuts, this kid was actually part of a massive youth movement. Back when grunge ruled the '90s, Winona showed up looking like a Victorian dream. The same year Kurt Cobain was rocking ripped jeans, she's channeling pure Dracula vibes in this corset dress. But here's the twist. That blue number wasn't just a costume. Only in the fabulous '50s could a life preserver become a red carpet accessory. The always clever Mansfield knew exactly what she was doing, turning a ship's safety gear into Hollywood gold. But here's the twist. While everyone thought she was just another blonde bombshell, this lady had an IQ of 163 and spoke 5 languages. Before laptops and energy drinks took over campus life, these 1940s college gals were powering through finals with ice-cold Cokes. The peak of '80s luxury. Julio Iglesias pairing red wine with KFC at 30,000 feet. While most of us were eating TV dinners, Spain's smoothest export was mixing high class and fast food in his private jet. Welcome to 1908's version of the Instagram flex. Those massive hats weighed more than today's carry-on luggage, and those dresses? Each had enough fabric to make 10 modern evening gowns. But here's the juicy part. These outfits weren't just fashion statements. They were weapons of mass distraction. Ladies would strategically block other spectators' views with their hats to help their favorite jockeys win. Think Mel Brooks only hired bombshells? In '74, Teri Garr nailed her young Frankenstein role because she could tap dance in monster boots. But here's the zinger. Before becoming everyone's favorite lab assistant, she was one of Elvis's dancing girls in 9 different movies. Before cosplay conventions and anime merch, this 1890s tourist was living every samurai fanboy's dream, paying to pose in authentic armor. Basically, Victorian-era Instagram. But here's the wild part. While most tourists were buying postcards, this guy went full Last Samurai a decade before Tom Cruise was even born. The original weeb dropping a month's salary just for one photo. Now that's what I call commitment to the fandom. Those weren't prescription glasses. They were Harrison Ford's attempt to look serious in interviews. Princess Leia snagged them between takes, proving even space royalty can't resist a little playful theft. But here's the kicker. While Ford needed them to look scholarly for critics, Fisher was already ghostwriting Hollywood scripts without any optical assistance. Those specs might have helped Han shoot first, but Carrie was the real smarty pants on set. Behind that typewriter sits Hollywood's greatest plot twist. The future Marilyn Monroe was actually hammering out rejection letters from modeling agencies. But here's the wild part. This photo helped launch her career when the photographer showed it to an agent. Within months, Norma Jean transformed into Marilyn, trading in that borrowed typewriter for a Fox contract. When Uncle Sam drafted the king, his manager nearly had a heart attack. But Elvis shocked everyone, refused special treatment, took regular pay, and donated it all to charity. While teenage girls were crying nationwide, Private Presley was peeling potatoes in Germany. Hollywood spends millions on hair extensions today, but this 1905 Geisha was rocking floor-length locks naturally. No fancy salon needed, just rice water and patience. But here's the shocker. That elegant hairstyle we associate with geishas. It took hours to create, and they slept on wooden neck rests to preserve it for days.